Hey there, YouTube. It's Kurt here. Today we're going to talk about NIBIRU. All right, I'm actually really excited for this card to come to the TCG format, and this is the first thing I think we've gotten in a while in like a Megatins or as a promo that's been like really hype. And I'm actually really happy because this is going to help balance out the insane turns that some decks can just combo off ridiculously and put out these boards that are borderline unbreakable, and the only thing you can really do to them is sphere mode. And even we're at a point in Yu-Gi-Oh where you can sphere mode someone and lose. They can recover from that and OTK you in one turn. It's just really bad for the format. It's really bad for the state of Yu-Gi-Oh. But now we have a card that's like super sphere mode. All right, so I'm not going to really explain that much about this card because the text is here. A lot of people have talked about it, but I'm going to talk about the implications of this card for Yu-Gi-Oh. All right, so it's important. Like, obviously, I don't think the second turn will be that buffed, but we are seeing Konami really support the second turn. So obviously, this card can basically nuke combo decks and just really shut down the strategy. Like Danger Thunder last format, if we had this card, that deck probably would not have topped as much as it did. It didn't top that much compared to what it did at Nationals, but it did get significant tops, and it got a YCS win, at least one with Jesse Cotton holding the reins to the deck. So, like, obviously, this deck can shut down degenerate strategies like that, and it's pretty easy to remove from the field. Its defense will be the cumulative defense of all those monsters, and so it probably won't be that high of a defense because link monsters don't count toward the defense rating. You can just summon the token. You can summon the token in defense mode, and then you get that monster on your field, and you can use it for link plays, yada. All right, so I'm going to talk about the pros here. Obviously, I think this is the most powerful card in that Megatin. The other two cards are good, don't get me wrong, but the other hand trap can be called, so that's one thing to consider. And the spell doesn't shut off Hermetic Spheres. Hermetic Spheres distributes itself, and the Hermetic Sphere is definitely a huge problem card, in my opinion. Yeah, Hermetic Sphere, in my opinion, is actually more powerful than things like Hot Red Dragon, just because like a bounce and then summon something from the deck that's a generic summon from deck is really powerful. We should not underestimate that. But Nibiru would basically shut that off entirely. And that's why I'm excited for it. The thing is, in OTK strategies and other second turn decks, so let's look at Dinos. If Dinos put a giant token on the field, if the token is too big, I think they still have methods of destruction. They can just get Pankratops on the field, they just destroy it, and then they OTK. So I could see Dinos actually main decking this card, and that actually might be to the point where it's overpowered. And yeah, Dinos would be insanely good main decking this card. We might have to go back to Miss going to 1 if this is the case. Dinos might just get too good with this card because they'll just have way too many options. But other than that, like I'm just like I play trains. A lot of people that if anybody watches this channel, you know I play that deck, and it's questionable actually in trains because in order to combo off in trains, sometimes you need your opponents have more monsters than you because of urgent schedule. So in that build, it's kind of questionable, but I'm still considering what I can actually do for it. Again, it's maybe I can manipulate my opponent to doing a couple more summons after I use it. It's really difficult to play around, but maybe Mechanites can definitely play this. Mechanites, you get it to get it to a zone that you want it in, and then you get you just play around with your zones, obviously, and then you can combo out from there. Obviously, Mech Knights have such good options anyway, but all right, I want to get to the downsides of this card. All right, so what I think, I don't think there's really necessarily in the downsides to this card. I mean, generally speaking, I think there's a secondary effect on the format that it could have. It could force people to want to have the desire to go back to playing Unga Bunga Yu-Gi-Oh! And I mean that to playing decks that are really degenerate, like Grand Maju Control. And now, don't get me wrong, I like Grand Maju as, like, I like the banishing function. I think that's fun. I think Gizmek is fun. But what I don't like is decks like what tops the recent German tournament, to where it's playing everything in your typical Grand Maju, but it's also playing literally half almost literally half the deck is counter traps, literally brainless and mindless counter traps, to where like you just set them and pass. And 9 times out of 10, if you set 3 judgment or 3 different solemn cards, your opponent just cannot play the game. And I really think that is, if we go back to that being in the format, well, then we're in a really terrible state in the format if all there is counter traps. So I think down the road, if this actually changes the format as much as it could, we actually could get to the point where, all right, we need to address this counter trap situation. Because Solemn Strike is honestly, I feel like Solemn Strike is too good to be at 3. The OCG addressed this card and they put it down to 2, and then we have Judgment, and obviously it's a big life point cost, but it's still a really good effect. We need to do something about the Solemn packages, in my opinion. We might get to the point where we need to do something about these floodgates. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. We might need to see a format, but it's something to be aware of. I don't think Judgment coming back to 3 was necessarily a good idea because of how good the Solemn package is already. Yeah, that's my only fear. I think the secondary effects could be that instead of turn 1 strategies like combo decks being really efficient, well, people might turn to the really brain dead strategies that just rely on those floodgates and counter traps. But overall, I am really excited that this will be a thing. And again, with counter traps, Judgment at 1 before you could Red Reboot. I think almost every deck that could play Red Reboot should side Red Reboot just because of how degenerate trap-based strategies can get. So hopefully, yeah, we don't see people resorting to that. But again, True Draco always rears its head. True Draco is one of those decks that really needs to not exist because it's just so stupid. It doesn't adhere to player skill, and it could easily be handled if generic floodgates were handled a little bit better by Konami, in my opinion. So like right now, Rivalry isn't used as much, Goes in Match. True Draco playing those cards, I don't have as much of a problem with because there is a relative cost to having them because they don't hit every deck. But then there's cards like There Can Be Only One, which pretty much hit almost every archetype. There's cards like Summon Limit, which hit almost every archetype, which those are what I kind of have a problem with. Summon Limit, I think is kind of a cool card, and I know NIBIRU is, in a way, kind of its own Summon Limit, but I think we need to address... it's hard to imagine how Konami can address all of these things and still make everything as interactive as it should be. So hopefully that's my 2 cents, but overall I do want this to be a positive reaction to this card because at least there's something put in place to control everything else. And it's not in the design to where it's like Mystic Mind to where... Well, I guess Mystic Mind kind of did shut down those combo decks, but Mystic Mind also made the game so that it could literally drag out for turn after turn after turn without really doing anything at all to attack your opponent's life points. This is a nice change up from that. All right, so I'm a little long-winded, so I want to cut it off here. But either way, I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate the video, appreciate the watch. If you like this video and my talking, subscribe. Again, I like to keep this channel. I like it to keep it more about substance rather than style. So, I mean, the thumbnails won't be flashy or anything like that, but it'll be all discussion based, and I want to do discussion videos. So if you guys have ideas for that, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I really enjoy discussing the game because it's a very enjoyable... well, when it's not dominated by degenerate, first turn strategies, the game tends to be fun and the game can be really fun and interactive, and I like discussing rogue strategies and things that can pick apart the meta and what the right meta calls are, in my personal opinion. So, all right, let me know, guys. Peace.